Hi, today I'm going to show you guys how to make some fondant. I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to make some fondant. Some people call it gum paste or whatever it is that you use to make the decorative flowers and the sugar flowers that go on a cake or cupcakes, that are 100% edible. Now this way is super cheap, super easy, just a few ingredients that you can find at any grocery store or big box store. So let's get started. The first step you want to do is take 1/4 cup of ice cold water. You want the water to be out of the fridge, but not frozen, just cold. You're going to add to that water gelatin. You're going to add 1 tablespoon and 2 teaspoons of gelatin to that 1/4 cup of ice cold water. It's going to turn into this weird solid thing once you mix it up. It's going to be super weird. You're going to let that sit for a few minutes, okay? Now, you're going to want to sit for maybe 3 minutes. The important part is once it sits and it solidifies, you're going to take boiling water, a pot of boiling water, and then you're going to take some sort of metal bowl and make a double boiler. So here it is. I have a small pot and the water, as you can see, is steaming and boiling. Carefully sit it here. I'm going to sit my metal bowl on top. Okay, so you guys can see it here. And then what I'm going to do in that empty metal bowl on top of that double boiler that I've created, or if you have a double boiler, you can just use the double boiler that you have. I'm going to add that gelatin that has hardened. Okay, the gelatin is going to melt. I'm going to stir it up and let it start to melt. Put the camera closer so you can take a good look there. It's starting to melt. The chunks of gelatin. So I'm going to go ahead and let that fully melt. My next ingredient is going to be 1/2 cup of corn syrup. It's just going to be regular clear corn syrup. Sometimes it says light corn syrup or clear corn syrup. Just regular corn syrup that you can buy at any grocery store. But you want to wait until this gelatin fully melts on top of this double boiler. You want to stir it up really good with a fork and make sure all of the chunks of gelatin are completely melted. Okay, once all of your gelatin chunks are melted, you're going to add the 1/2 cup of corn syrup. Has to be clear. Don't get the brown corn syrup because of course you want your fondant to be white once you're finished the mixing. And this is going to be a 2-part video. I'm going to show you all the liquids and then I'm going to do the second part where I'm actually going to mix up the powdered sugar with the liquid in a mixer, in this mixer that you see here, and a dough hook. So it's really super easy where you won't have to knead it by hand. Okay, so we want to make sure we use the rubber spatula and get all of that corn syrup, 1/2 cup of clear corn syrup, not the brown corn syrup. Okay, what you want to do is take your fork and mix that with the gelatin on top of that double boiler. Make sure it's mixed up really well. You'll see the mixture kind of looks weird and sticky. You want to mix it until it completely incorporates with that gelatin and water mixture. That cold 1/4 cup of cold water with the 1 tablespoon, 2 teaspoons of gelatin sitting in that cold water until it solidifies. Then we melted that solid, weird gelatin mixture. And now we're adding this corn syrup on top of the double boiler. As you can see, I don't have it on heat. I'm on a table, I'm not on the stove, because you don't want the mixture to be too hot. The reason why I'm doing a 2-part series is because the mixture cannot be too hot. You just want to melt and incorporate the ingredients together, okay? Bring the water to a boil, but then you can take it off the heat and work with it. All right, this mixture is getting nice and liquid. As you can see, I don't have those big chunks in it anymore. Okay, now you want to take solid vegetable shortening and you want to add 2 tablespoons. The solid vegetable shortening that you use to cook with, you can easily buy it from any grocery store for really cheap. And you're going to take 2 whole tablespoons of it and just add it in with everything else. Now, it's very important to do the steps in order and to make sure the previous ingredient was fully melted, fully mixed, and fully incorporated before you move on to the next ingredient, okay? So you're gonna go ahead and mix that up in there, make sure that's melted really well. Now there's so many ways that you can make fondant. There are so many recipes out there. And I just find this to be the cheapest, the easiest, the quickest way to do it, where you'll still get an amazing batch of fondant at the end. You'll get a nice ball of dough. And you'll see when I'm finished, I'm going to create a few products with it. I'm going to create a few roses. I'm going to do some rose tutorials, so please look out for that soon. And you'll see the quality of the fondant once we're finished. All right, I'm just mixing it up really, really well so that everything can melt. Those chunks of vegetable shortening can melt here. Now I'm going to get the last ingredient. But of course you want to wait until all of the other ingredients are fully incorporated. So I'm still waiting on a few small little chunks here, as you can see, of vegetable shortening to fully melt. These ingredients are all pretty soft and melt really easily, and that's why I'm not on top of a fire as well. I'm not on top of the stove. I am on a table, as you can see here, and I'm just mixing everything up on the table, just so you can get a peek at what it looks like right now. It looks like nothing at the moment. It kind of looks like soup, but it will be absolutely amazing when it's finished, trust me. So I'm just mixing it up, just getting the last little bit of vegetable shortening chunks to melt. Okay, perfect. Now, last but not least, your last ingredient is going to be simple vegetable oil. And you just want to add 1 tablespoon of that. Smooth everything out at the end. That's it. That is it. That is the ingredients for the liquid mixture that is the starter for fondant. That is it. That is it. That is all that I use. The most expensive ingredient out of my whole list will be the gelatin, just to give you guys a heads up. I paid about $9 for a box of gelatin, but it had a good amount in there because, as you see, you only use a small amount for each batch. I only use 1 tablespoon and 2 teaspoons for each batch. So the box came with several packets in it. I want to say about 20 packets in it. And you want to get the unflavored gelatin. No flavor, no color to your gelatin. Okay, so when you're finished mixing everything up really, really well, your mixture is going to look like this. It's going to look like this weird, soupy mixture. And you're gonna just let that sit, and you're gonna let it cool 100%. You do not want it to be warm. You want it to be room temperature in order to mix it with the powdered sugar to make the dough that you'll need for the fondant. Okay, so you want to just let it sit. You don't want it to solidify now. That has happened to me before. You don't want it to solidify. You don't want it to turn into a sticky solid. You want it to just cool completely down. When I touch the bowl, it feels a little bit warm right now because of course it's on top of the double boiler. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove it. As you can see, it was on my double boiler the whole time with the hot water. We're going to remove it from the double boiler. Just to give you guys a better look here, it was on top of this here, this pot that I was using as my double boiler, but I removed it and just set it by itself so that it can cool. You don't want it to be warm or hot. You want it to be just room temperature. You don't want it to be cold. You want it to just be room temperature so that you can mix it with the powdered sugar, okay? So you guys look out for part 2 of the video where I'll actually mix it with the powdered sugar in a few minutes once it cools down, and I'll show you how I do that with the mixer and a dough hook, okay? So I'm not kneading it by hand. I'm just gonna do it mostly with the mixer and the dough hook, but of course I wanna let it cool down, the liquid mixture. So stay tuned for that.